Hello everyone, this is Manohar Reddy, Department of Cybersecurity, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today I am going to explain the concept of attacks using ICMP messages. Attacks using ICMP messages. So before going to explain about this attacks using ICMP message, so what is meant by ICMP message actually, and what is the different types of ICMP messages. So generally we already know that ICMP stands for Internet Control Message Protocol. Internet Control Message Protocol. What it gives the status of all the networking issues or data transmission issues or host issues. So all the hosts or networks or data transmissions. So whatever the things, if any related issues, if host related issues or data transmission related issues or network related issues, all the related issues will be displayed in the form of messages with the help of this ICMP protocol. So ICMP protocol displays all the error messages or control messages in the way of two types actually. One is error reporting messages. The first category is what? Error reporting messages. And the second category is what? Query messages. But the attackers can able to attack the target system by using all these types of ICMP messages. Attackers are able to attack on the target system with the help of these ICMP messages. So that's why we mentioned that attacks using ICMP messages. So there are different types of attacks will be there. So some of the denial of service attacks, some of the smurf attacks, some of the network attacks, some of the port attacks, different types of attacks out there. So like the way all the different types of attacks are there. In the first category, the mapping network topology category. The first attack category is what? Mapping network topology. So we already said that network topologies are different types, like bus topologies, ring topologies, star topologies, hybrid topologies. Like the way different types of topologies are there. Star topology, bus topologies, hybrid topologies, mesh topologies, all the different types of topologies are there. But the attackers using by targeting on the system by mapping the network topology, which topology is working under the organization. So which topology is working under the corporate offices, which topology is using by the individual users. So all these different types of network topologies, based on that network topologies, attacks are going to be done with the help of attackers. So here the mapping a target network is very strategic part of most intelligent planned attacks. So this is a very planned attack, and this is the most strategic part of the intelligent attack. And this initial step in reconnaissance attempts to discover the live host. So to do this type of mapping of network target, the attacker must attempt the reconnaissance technique to discover the live hosts. In a targeted network. So what are the different ports are available? What are the different ports are open? Different ports are closed. So discover that live hosts by using this reconnaissance attempt. An attacker then can direct a more focused scan or exploit toward live hosts only. So first, after that reconnaissance technique, he focused on scanning of that target system by using Nmap tool, by using Nmap or Genmap tool. He can able to scan the target of the system, and on that target of the system, which hosts are lively able to attack the target system. So for this, the sender sending individual ICMP echo message. This is what the ping command does. So the ping command is for contacting the target system. the user is trying to access the target system with the help of this ping command, and sending ICMP echo requests to the broadcast addresses of a network. So broadcast addresses are nothing but the IP addresses or physical addresses of the system. So sending ICMP echo requests to that targeting addresses of the system. So like IP addresses of the system or else MAC addresses of the system. So if you want to find the IP of the system, you can type directly ipconfig in the networking run command. Similarly, you can type get MAC to identify the MAC address of your system. So IP address of the system by typing the ipconfig command, and get MAC command is to get the MAC address of the system. So sending IP echo requests to the network and broadcast address of subdivided networks, and sending an ICMP address mask request to a host on the network to determine the subnet mask to better understand how it maps efficiently. So here the attacker targets the system with the help of both scanning and reconnaissance techniques. So the thing scanning and reconnaissance is for finding the live hosts of the system, so that he can able to identify the target easily. With the help of available ports or closed ports. So this is the attacks using ICMP message in the mapping network topology. And the second one is what? Smurf attacks. So Smurf attacks are nothing but it is a ping attacks, and ping a broadcast addresses with the spoofed IP. So that is nothing but IP spoofing. So instead of using the original IP, attacker uses the masked IP. That is nothing but a spoofed IP. Masked IP or spoofed IP. So that is nothing but a masked IP or spoofed IP of a victim as a source address. So all hosts on the network respond to the victim. So if he entered with the help of IP spoofing, the other victim is going to be respond with this IP address. So this victim is overwhelmed. And here the keys, they can use amplification and IP spoofing, as well as DNS spoofing also. So IP spoofing and DNS spoofing are the types of Smurf attacks to targeting on the network system with the help of masked IP or spoofed IP, or else masked domain or spoofed domain. So here the protocol vulnerability and implementation can be patched by violating the protocol specification. To ignore pings to broadcast addresses, to ignoring all the broadcast addresses, we use this one. And here ICMP echo just used for convenience purpose, not for the ICMP echo checks that whether the target system is responding or not. So for that, it's just used for convenience purpose. And all ICMP messages can be abused this way. So all these ICMP echo request or echo reply messages are diverting the user in a different way. So Fraggle is the equivalent with the UDP. Is the equivalent with the user datagram protocol. So like the way the attacker wants to target the target system with the help of this DNS spoofing as well as IP spoofing. So he can use the masked IP or different IP for addressing IP spoofing as well as DNS spoofing. So this is the Smurf attacks, we can say that. And here ping of death attacks. So here the ICMP echo with the fragmented packets. So the complete packet is going to be divided into different fragments. divided into different fragmented packets. Different fragmented packets. But here, the each and every for each and every ICMP echo is going to be transferred or contacted to this each and every fragmented packet. Each and every fragmented packet. So the maximum legal size of an ICMP echo packet is what? 65,535 minus 20 minus 8. So that it will be the size of 65,507. And here the fragmentation allows bypassing the maximum size, offset plus size, which are available in the fields, of the ICMP packets, that is greater than 65,535. 65,535. And reassembled packet would be larger than this 65,535. So here the fragmented packet is not greater than that 65,507, and the reassembled packet is the greater than 65,535, greater than 65,535 bytes. So with the help of this ping of death attacks, the OS may be crashed. So nothing but operating system crashes. It leads to slow of the system as well as process terminations, application interruptions. These are all would be done in the attacking of ping of death attacks. And the same attack with different IP protocols. But based on the different target IP addresses, the attacks would be the different, but the same attack with the different protocols. So this is the way you can understand that ping of death attacks. And ICMP redirect attack. These attacks will be happened with the help of the routers, because if the data sent by the sender through the router, if router fails, the data may not be reached to the destination host. Suppose you can take this is the source host and this is the destination host, and in between them one router is there, R1. So if the redirection of the data transmission of the source from destination is depending upon the router. If router fails, the data transmission between source to destination will get also failed. So the router is the part to send the packets to the destination. It is asking the host to send these packets to the destination or not. So if the host client is giving the permission to send the packets to the destination, then router will assign the packets to this host. In between them, man in the middle will be presented. At that moment, the attacks will be there. That attacks called man in the middle attacks. That leads to the modifications of the data transmission. So here some of the win phrase, that is nothing but Windows freeze and ICMP redirect. These are some different types of attacks. ICMP redirect attacks, that you are the quickest links to the host Z. So up to host Z, we are going to link them, and host changes its routing table for Z itself. So host changes to its routing table for Z. That is nothing but Z is the host of the ending host, and routing table always changes based on the data transmission through the router itself. And host send packets to itself in an infinite loop. So host send packets to itself in an infinite loop. That means the host will transfer the packets to the destination side, always it's looking itself and it is transferring. It is transferring. So that is the ICMP redirect attacks. And the error reporting versus error correction. So during the transmission of the data from source to destination, so source to destination, so this is the destination and this is the source, this is the destination. During the transmission of the data between source to destination, there may be the router failed or there may be the data transmission failed due to the different types of issues. There may be the router failed or there may be the data transmission will be failed based on the different types of activities, based on the different types of tasks. So here ICMP is an error reporting mechanism. ICMP is an error reporting mechanism. So it allows routers to send error or control messages to other routers or hosts. So ICMP allows routers. ICMP says that all the routers have to inform that whether the data transmission is failed or success. Whether the data transmission is failed or success. So for that, ICMP provides a communication between Internet Protocol software on one machine and Internet Protocol software on another machine. So those two machines got interneted. Those two machines are working with the internet, and in between them the routers are presented. If routers fails, then entire communication will be failed, so that there is no data transmission occurs. So if routers are not failed, data transmission will be failed. Then routers gives the response because of the failures of the data transmission. Because of the data transmission failures. So routers will intimate to the ICMP because of so and so issue, the data transmission may not be occurred to the destination side. So this is the way ICMP provides a communication that provides in between the Internet Protocol software on one machine and another machine. One machine to another machine. And ICMP provides a way for routers that encounter an error to report the error to the original source. So it says that the ICMP says that to the router, if any errors will be occur or if any error control will be occur, automatically you have to intimate to the source of the target system, intimate to the source of the host or source of the system, and suggest possible actions to take in response to error reports. So suggest to take any possible suggestions or possible deviations to get the different types of reports. So when a datagram causes an error, ICMP can only report to the error condition back to the original source of the datagram. So if any data transmission will get failure, automatically router has to intimate that to the original source. Because of so and so issue, the packets may get failure. So that all the error conditions. So what are the errors conditions? What are the error types and what are the error conditions has to be informed to the source side. Who is going to be share this all ICMP protocol gives the information to whom? Source host. So source host has to identify that all the problems and rectify them and send the data transmission through the router to the destination. And the source must relate the error to an individual application program or take other actions to correct the problem. So source ICMP state that what it identifies the problem belongs to the application program or it belongs to other error reports or something. It could be find that the message has been occurred because of this error. So correct that problem and send to the destination side across the router. So ICMP reports the problems to the original source. However, it cannot be used to inform intermediate routers about the problem. So if S is the source and D is the destination, to transmit the data from source to destination, there may be a chance to have a multiple routers, router 1, router 2, and router 3. So here, if any failures will occur in the data transmission, automatically router 1 has to inform if the data transmission will be failure at this moment. If the data transmission will be failure at this moment, router 2 has to inform to the router 1. If data has to be transmitted in between these routers, if it get a failure at this moment, the router 3 also has to inform to the router 2. Similarly, from the destination side. So, like the way all the routers are intercommunicated together, and they can submit the status of the error reporting or control message to the source 1. So here, for example, suppose a datagram follows a path through the sequence of routers like R1, R2 up to RK. So like this, R1, R2, R3 up to RK. If RK has incorrect routing information, that means if some router has incorrect information, if some router has not configured properly or not having any correct routing information, and mistakenly it routes the datagram to the router RE. So if it have misinformation, then it directed data transmission to the misplace. It directed data transmission to the misplace. So at that moment, it cannot use ICMP to report the error back to the router RK. So if it finds the error messages at RK, it is not possible to move to the error back to the backside. So ICMP can only send a report back to the original source actually, but not from last to previous, So unfortunately, the original source has no responsibility. For the problem or control over the misbehaving of router. So original source is not responsible because somewhere the router may get failure, or so router may have a misinformation. So for that, the source is not responsible. In fact, the source may not be able to determine which router caused the problem. Because the source is presented here, but the routers are presented in between the source and destination. But somewhere if the router get failed, the source may not be able to identify which router has occurred the problem, which router has get the problem. So this is the error reporting and the correcting of the messages, ICMP messages, with the help of these routers. So with the help of this router only, the data can be transmitted to the destination without any interruptions or without any error corrections. So at the moment of data transmission, if any errors occurred, for that errors there is a chance to error correcting mechanism or error controlling mechanisms. Those two, error control and error correcting mechanisms, are happened in the data link layer actually. Data link layer. So this is the ICMP error reporting versus error correction. So now we revise the topics which we discussed in this session actually. So generally, what is meant by ICMP? So ICMP messages, types of ICMP messages. So what is meant by ICMP? It is a protocol which states that all the network statistics of the network or hosts or data transmission. So there are different types of attacks are there. One is mapping network topology. Based on the type of topology of the network, it is going to be attacked on the system. And second one is Smurf attacks. It is a type of IP spoofing attacks or DNS spoofing attacks. And third one, ping of death attacks. With the help of ICMP echo fragmented packets, it is going to be happen. And the ICMP redirect attacks, which directed to the router problems. And here error reporting versus error correction. So error reporting versus error correction. This is completely happen with the help of all the routers in between source and destination. So routers have the important role to give the messages to the ICMP, the problems on which status it is happen. So that all the status of the messages has to give to the source and destination with the help of those router. If the routers are not sufficiently configured, then the source and destination may not have source and destination have may not proper data communication, or proper data transferred, So this is about all the error reporting versus error controlling mechanism and ICMP attacks using messages. Thank you all.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.